What's up, boys and girls? How are you? It's a Tuesday for the Bostonian versus the book. We're off and running. My name is Matt Peralta. We are into the NFL trade deadline in a big way. We're live on YouTube and X. We are replayed on Sports Grid Television, and we are replayed audio-wise wherever you guys get your audio podcast. At Boston versus the book is where to follow all of our stuff socially, and yikes. Look, I'm playing catch-up here. We're on like 1 minute late because I'm trying to digest everything that's going on here in the NFL. We will talk about the UFC and the betting scandal during the opening line. We will talk about what happened last night with the Cowboys in their loss to the Cardinals. And now as we go into a bye week for the Cowboys, what do they do? But as we roll here we go. This is going to be fun. If this is what we'll see today, breaking news. All right. The Jaguars have just acquired Jakobi Meyers from the Raiders. The Raiders are sending the former Patriot wideout now to Jacksonville to give another weapon after the Jags beat the Raiders Sunday here in Las Vegas on this. Okay, the deadline is 4 p.m. Eastern time in 3 hours. The Jets have just traded Sauce Gardner to the Colts in a massive move. The Jets are getting a first-round pick in 26. They're getting a first-round pick in 27. And they're getting Adonai Mitchell, a wide receiver from the Colts, in exchange for Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner going to the Colts, I like it. I mean, I like it. If I'm a fan of the Colts, go for it. Like, go for it. Forget the future. Go for it now. If you have a chance to pick up a lockdown, shutdown cornerback that can really help your defense, given how well your offense has played. Look, they laid an egg on Sunday. They were horrible. 6 turnovers. They dropped out of my top 5 power rankings because of this. But now I'm not going to put them back in right now, but let's see what they look like with Sauce Gardner. But okay, I'm listening. I'm listening. For Indianapolis. They were my number 1 team in the NFL the last 2 weeks. And now here at the deadline, they have made a major move by acquiring a guy that could come in and shut down half the field. And who knows, maybe he gets more energetic, interested. He goes back to the Sauce Gardner we saw from a couple of years ago, who was one of the best cover cornerbacks in the entire NFL. So if you are a fan of the Colts, you have to be really excited about this. You got to be really excited because, again, 2 first-round picks is a big asking price. Okay, that is a big asking price for this, to get 2 first-round picks and a player, by the way, not just 2 first-round picks, but two first-round picks and a wide receiver going from the Jets. And are the Jets going to burn this down? The other question is, okay, if you trade Sauce Gardner, who else is being moved? Who else is going to get traded on this? Who else are you going to determine that should wind up going? So I got to lean on you guys here in the brigade. I can only do so many things. So if you guys have opportunities, if you see something that breaks, let me know. We'll keep the sounder handy for breaking news. But if you're going to trade Sauce Gardner to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and a wide receiver, you have to think that the Jets are not done and that the Jets would be looking to move other players as well coming up. Now, I think there's going to be, Breece Hall. Good question, Anthony. Yeah, is Breece Hall going to get traded? And where would they trade him to? And how much of a market is there for Breece Hall, to be quite honest? So as a running back who has been effective in the NFL, 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, I'm surprised that a starting cornerback, he's an all-pro starting cornerback, but a starting cornerback in the NFL is bringing back 2 first-round picks from the Colts. That's a pretty good haul. That's a really good opportunity. And I think if you are I got to write this down because it's here. You can see how Matt has to work by himself. So I have to put things up for the NFL trade deadline. But if you are a fan of the Jets, you have to go, oh boy, Here we go. Now, Logan Wilson was picked up for a 7th-round pick by the Cowboys today. I don't think that's the type of defensive help that the Cowboy fans were hoping to see from Jerry Jones, but there is one move that's been made. Jerry Jones has picked up a linebacker in Logan Wilson from the Bengals. The Ravens have traded for Draymond Jones, the linebacker, for a conditional 5th-round pick. A lot of small moves. Jalen Phillips, the linebacker, goes from the Dolphins to the Eagles. The Eagles also picked up Jair Alexander. Those things happened yesterday. And then earlier, they got Michael Carter, the second, a cornerback, and also a 7th-round pick for John Mechie, and a 6th-round pick. We know that the Patriots traded Kyle Duggar to the Steelers earlier last week on that. So we will have to pay attention, but that is the biggest name to be moved on a day where most people were projecting that we were not going to see major moves. Like, everybody thought this was going to be a pretty quiet trade deadline just because the bigger trades would have been made later. Oh, Garrett Wilson getting traded. That's a great question. If you're the Jets, if you're going to trade Sauce Gardner, don't you trade everybody? Okay, thank you. Yes, that's okay. Well, hold on. That's the other breaking news story. I knew there was no. I love what the Seahawks have just done. I love this. To get Rashid Shaheed to come in, the speed on the outside to get that type of player, that's a great pickup that's a great pickup. I think that's tremendous for them. It's weird. It must not have been reported yet or officially reported, because the NFL Network, NFL.com, they don't have that trade currently on their board as a trade that was actually effectively done. So that might be just one of those Adam Schefter reports. But the trade compensation is going to be a 2026 4th-round and 5th-round pick to the Saints in exchange for Shaheed. So there you go with that. I like that pickup a lot. So look, the one thing that the NFL never really had that other sports leagues have had is a highly active trade deadline that made everybody count it down. Like, let's be honest. One of the most exciting days of the NBA calendar is the NBA trade deadline day. Everyone is so glued to it. Baseball started it, right? The first ever league to have this countdown where, oh my gosh, this guy got moved or that guy got moved. You know, the rotisserie league, in your basement, Dungeons and Dragons type, dreaming that goes on about, what if I traded for this guy, or what if we got that guy? That was done with baseball. Baseball started that. The NBA, because it's constant drama and the NBA is a soap opera, the NBA then took that mantle and really ran with it. And all of a sudden, like, we saw crazy trade deadline days all the time in the NBA. Mostly, not always, but mostly it's a fun day for the NBA. The NFL's never had a lot of this, but we are starting to see more of it recently. And now, I mean, Sauce Gardner getting traded, if I'm a Jet fan, burn it to the ground. Okay, burn it to the ground. Go ahead and trade everyone. There really shouldn't be anybody that's not, there that could be traded. I would trade for. So let's play this out. This is in real time, so I apologize if I'm speaking crazy here, but Sauce Gardner gets 2 first-round picks. Garrett Wilson gets a first-round pick. He has to go for at least a first, right? So if he goes for a first, what do you do with Breece Hall? How much does Breece Hall bring? A second-round pick? He's a running back. Second-round pick? Third-round pick? So, Sauce Gardner with 15 solo tackles this year, no interceptions, and no sacks. Good player, but interesting that the defensive-minded head coach that you hired from the Lions, the first major trade the Jets make is to send your best cover corner out. So clearly, the brass did not like what Sauce Gardner was bringing. And maybe they thought like he wasn't going to live up to his contract and what they thought he was going to. And I would agree with Whitrock. Getting 2 first-round picks for a starting cornerback is pretty impressive. It's pretty darn impressive. So Eric is saying the Bears are pursuing heavily a pass rusher, Hendrickson or Crosby. I've batted the bushes here in Vegas to try to find out as much as I can about Max Crosby. I've been told under kind of like under no circumstances is Max Crosby going to be traded by the Raiders. So I would take Max Crosby, at least from what I have been told by people who cover the team and are close to the team, is that Max has an extremely tight relationship with ownership, and that trading Max Crosby would only be done if Max Crosby asked to be traded, and Max Crosby will never ask to be traded from Las Vegas. He loves it here. He wants to play his whole career here. So that would be, I don't think, a possibility. Hendrickson's a different story. The Bengals are on a bye week. If you're going to move him, what are you getting back? And then who's going to take the contract, right? I mean, that's the question with him, is the contract and the size of the contract with Trey Hendrickson. Who wants it? So that would be there. So I don't believe you're going to see Max Crosby getting traded rather. I do think Max Crosby is going to stay with the Raiders. Hendrickson or other pass rushers, that's potential. I think you could see other pass rushers getting traded, other guys getting moved before the deadline here coming up in 3 hours. But this has already been way more active than I thought, just given the fact that we had been told that it was going to be a lot of middling moves. The Jets signed Sauce Gardner to a 4-year, $120 million extension this offseason. They just signed him to a 4-year, $120 million deal. And yet they, at the first trade deadline, they went ahead and traded him. Unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. When you stop and go, okay, if you're a fan, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I would do if I were the Jets with the rest of your talent. Because you're 1-7, right? You're 1-7. You stink. Your team stinks. Your coach is over his head. The one win you got was a miracle. You're going to, I mean, if you believe that Aaron Glenn is the guy, if you believe that Aaron Glenn is the guy that's it's going to rebuild your franchise, then I think you should burn it down and trade everybody, anybody and anybody. Let's see what Justin Fields has out there. See what you've got for Breece Hall. See what you got for Garrett Wilson. Just go ahead and burn it down and start over again, because look at the Bills aren't going anywhere for 4 to 5 years. The Patriots have a quarterback that you're going to have to deal with now. The Dolphins are going to burn it down this offseason, so why not get a head start on the Dolphins, because they're going to fire McDaniel and they're going to get rid of Tua. So why not get a jump start on that, because you know you're both going to be racing to the bottom trying to get the best draft choices you can to rebuild it. So I don't know. That's where I would go and look at it. So I think there's a chance to do some pretty interesting things if you're the Jets. It's just that whether or not you can do it in New York. Like, can you suck for 3 years in New York? Can you be awful in New York for 3 years? That's the question, right? That's the problem I think you might run into coming up with that. So again, we'll track the deadline. We'll track it over the next couple of hours. Seahawks deal has been made official. They are getting Shaheed. That is a good pickup for Seattle. I'm a big fan of the Seahawks. I've liked what Seattle has looked like here. He's 27 years old with 4 years of experience for him. Let me see. Let's go back to that. So far this year, last week against the Rams, he had 5 catches for 68 yards, averaging 13.6 yards a catch. He has not had a touchdown since week 5 against the Giants. He has 2 touchdown catches on the year, 1 against the Niners and 1 against the Giants. But I think it comes in and helps out a lot with the injury to Cooper Kupp, looking a bit more serious than maybe we thought for Seattle. They're now making that move to go get Shaheed to come in and help them out. So, yeah, him opposite Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yes. So you got those 2 guys on the other side. I like it a lot. Would Arizona give a third or a fourth for Breece Hall? Well, after last night, maybe, right? I mean, if you're a Cardinal fan and you're looking at it going, okay, you played really well last night. Jacoby Brissett is still one of the best backups in the entire NFL, a guy that you 100% would love to have on your roster as your backup quarterback, because when he plays, he is starting quarterback caliber. Like, he's not consistently starting quarterback caliber, but he is a guy that can spot start and win football games. And he did last night. He played extremely well. So, I think if you're a Cardinal fan and you go, all right, so we win 27-17 against the Cowboys, and now we're on the road against Seattle this coming week. Okay. I mean, do you go for it? I'm not sure if I go for it if I'm the Cardinals, but you're sitting there with a record of 3-5. You're 3 games behind Seattle in the West. You're 2 games behind the Niners, and you're 3 games behind the Rams, or 3 losses behind 2.5 games, 3 losses behind the Seahawks and the Rams atop the division. So I don't know. 6 win Seattle, 6 win LA, and 6 win San Francisco. You've got 3 wins. If you're the Cardinals, do you go for it? Yeah, I would probably say no. I probably would say no. I wouldn't go for it on that. Yeah, we'll get to the Cowboys defense a bit later on, but it's just, absolutely, totally brutal. Yeah, and nobody is supporting Kyler. That's true. Nobody wants Kyler anymore coming up in Arizona. So we will watch it. If you have any breaking news, let me know. I'll fire the stinger and we'll get into it for a breaking news situation for us coming up with this on the NFL trade deadline. We are 3, a no-name defensive end of the Bears. Okay. That's not worthy of a breaking news stinger. We need someone of higher caliber, but it is an active day for the NFL trade deadline for sure. Opening line. Opening line being presented by Huel. This was the whole purpose of the whole show today, talking about another massive betting scandal for the UFC. Guys, I've told you about Huel a bunch here. They are back supporting and sponsoring the show. If you guys go to huel.com/BVB, you're going to save 15% off your first purchase with Huel. This is not a protein shake like you used to be drinking. It is a meal. It is 40 grams of protein per drink, 27 vitamins and minerals, gluten-free, vegan. It is something I have almost every day. It's not just I'm sponsoring this or reading this read. I'm telling you, I actually do use this product. And now Huel is in Target nationwide. Their prepackaged drinks are in Target. If you want to try it, it's a great way. Just grab a bottle. You can try it. But I will say this, the pre-made shakes are good, but I prefer to make them in my own house. I prefer with the powder, and I prefer the protein powder that they have with Huel. And that, you throw a banana in it, you throw some ice in it, you make it with milk. That's my breakfast 3 to 4 times a week right now. I found these guys when I was over in the UK, in Scotland. It's good stuff. Check it out. Go to huel.com/BVB. Get 15% off your first purchase with Huel, and then stay after you make the purchase. Fill out the survey. Let them know where you came from so we get credit here on BVB. If you are surprised that there is an FBI investigation going on right now into fighters fixing fights in the UFC, you haven't been paying attention to what's been going on in the gambling space. This has quasi-rocked the sports world. That a fighter at UFC Vegas 110 threw a fight. He's been cut by the UFC. Caesars issued a refund to anybody who bet the fighter. It doesn't matter who he is, okay? I don't even need to say his name. The fact that a fighter, a low-level fighter, was gotten to by whomever, a gambler, the mafia, I don't care. The fact that this happened and that heavy numbers came in, and then the broadcast crew who was calling the fight night gave him an F- for his performance. It was white belt level stuff that he was losing. It was clear to everybody that he threw the fight. If this is shocking to you, if this is stunning to you, you have not been paying attention. Let's go and talk about what a UFC fighter is. A UFC fighter is an independent contractor to the company. Okay. They sign contracts for a fight number, 5, 10, whatever the number of the fights are, with the UFC. They agree upon a rate. They agree upon a show rate. They agree upon a win if they win the fight. And there's other things that go into with the kits wearing Venom stuff, and there's other stuff that goes into it. I haven't seen a UFC contract in a while, but when I moved here to Vegas, I knew a bunch of active UFC fighters because I was training at gyms where they were training. And I asked them all sorts of questions, and I would talk to them all the time. And this was a while ago. I've been in Vegas for 10 years now, but the idea of being approached to throw a fight, it wasn't even like shocking. It happens way more than people want to admit. Way more than the UFC wants to admit that it happens, because they are the perfect target. If you go and talk about who would you want to influence to throw a fight, okay? In America, the low-level UFC fights on a UFC card, a prelim or early prelim fight, generally the limits can be higher on those fights because the book knows the main event is coming. And so you're going to have 4 or 5 big fights with big handle. You can absorb a loss if a sharp comes in and puts 10,000, 100,000 down on a prelim fight. It happens. I know people who do it, who bet heavy money on the prelims because the books will take that action. If the books will take that action, it's on the book, it's on them to deal with the ramifications of what happens when a fight is fixed. Those fighters should be expelled, arrested, and punished to the full extent of the law. But equally on this is the fact that the books are comfortable taking large wagers on low handle fights. And the professionals know this. And so since they know this, if you're somebody who gets paid 15,000, 25,000, whatever it might be, UFC fighters generally fight 1 to 3 times a year. Sometimes they'll be more active than that, but your body gets destroyed when you fight in the octagon. Like, you break everything. You break toes, ankles, arms, fingers, orbital bones. Like, you break everything. It is the most violent sport that exists. I have never been punched with a 4-ounce glove, nor would I ever want to be punched with a 4-ounce glove. I've been punched with an 8-ounce glove, and it felt like somebody was hitting me with a rock. It killed. And that was with me wearing headgear on top of that. I was sparring with somebody, and they caught me with an 8-ounce glove, and I looked down at their hand, and I said, "What are you using?" You go, "What's on your hand?" And they're like, "Why?" I go, "What weight is that?" I was fighting with 12-ounce gloves. He was fighting with 8-ounce gloves, and it killed. I couldn't imagine what it felt like to spar, fight with 4-ounce gloves. So a lot of these fighters who work out at gyms here in Vegas, like Extreme Couture or Venom Training Camp, okay, these are big gyms here in Vegas that are all about the UFC, that these guys, not only do they have to fight on fight night, they have to train for months. Most of them, not most of them, but some of them have other jobs. They are waiters, they're waitresses, they drive Uber, they deliver food. Like, they do all these different things just to have the time and the money and the flexibility of a job. Because if you have a 9 to 5, no 9 to 5 is going to be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you can take 3 hours to go train at lunch to go and get your work in to get ready for the fight." So this has always been ripe. This has always been so perfect for the UFC to have a major betting scandal. But betting on combat sports is how this all started. Betting on fighting is what began all of this. The Olympians back in Athens, when we started the Olympics, okay? Boxing and fighting, all of that, jousting, combat sports, that's what started gambling. We've been betting since we've been competing, right? My team, my guy is better than your guy. You're wrong. Okay, here's 100, whatever the hell they use in ancient Greece for money. 100 shekels, whatever it is. There it is. But we've become different now with this, because with the UFC, the scandal isn't as big of a deal, in my opinion, as it is when it's baseball or the NFL. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that MLB and the NFL are team sports. And if you throw a game and you cause your teammates to lose, I think that is far more egregious to the average general sports fan. They're far more angry at the guy who burned his teammates than a fighter who burns himself or herself. And that's it. So that's why this story, I think it's a very big story here in Vegas. It's a very big story in the sports world. It's a very big story because it's sensationalist and it's splashy and it's loud. But in all honesty, this has been going on for a while. Championship Rounds account on Twitter went ahead and started documenting what different fighters were saying in the wake of this, saying they have been approached consistently to throw fights. Ariel Helwani from the Uncrowned yesterday has just said it publicly on a much bigger platform than what this is in terms of fight fans about how many times he has heard about different fights being compromised, about fighters being approached about throwing fights. It happens way more than you think. And thus the integrity of the game, the integrity of the fighting becomes a big problem. But it's not just UFC fighting. It's combat sports in general. It's boxing and other combat sports that happen all the time. I hate to be the guy on the other side of the counter that then blames the book for getting burned because the book is trying to run a business. But I have said it before when it comes to micro betting that if you are taking big wagers on small handle events, you're a participant in it. Okay? You think the guy's an idiot. You think the bet's stupid. Otherwise, why would you take it? You're taking it for a reason, either handle, interest, liability. Like you're taking that bet for a reason. Remember, the book can decline any bet that they want. It's their legal right. If they don't want to take the bet, they don't have to take the bet. If you take a bet and there is suspicious line movement or there are things that happen, you can refund the wagers like Caesars has done. Caesars just went ahead and went public and said, hey, we're going to mobile customers with losing bets on the fight will receive a cash credit within 24 hours or within 24 hours of the last leg being determined of a parlay, super parlay, whatever, should that bet have won without that leg included. So they're going to refund everybody that got screwed by this fighter who has since been cut by the UFC for being dirty. But the FBI's got more things going on with this. I think there is a political angle to this because of Donald Trump's relationship with Dana White. Dana White wants this gone. So I think if Dana White can find or use the FBI to expose anybody who is throwing fights, I think Dana White would be ecstatic about this. It would be ecstatic that the FBI could use their subpoena power and their ability to threaten people with jail time to get information out of different syndicate groups that might be influencing fighters or have different fighters in their back pocket. So I don't think this is like an institutional problem. I don't think this goes up to all the way up to the top of the UFC. And this is something that we all have to like freak out about. But this is not the first time. Do you guys remember James Krause? Do you remember when Dave and I talked about James Krause and what the guy did with his fighter, Derek Minner? The fact that James Krause was giving out selling picks to his customers about fighters that he was coaching, that he knew what was going to happen, that he was involved. They both got busted big time for it because Krause knew an injury. Krause knew that was going to happen. He knew what the fighter was dealing with. The fighter lost. James Krause was then exposed to have been working with an offshore sports book. That story went away so quickly. And I found that to be pretty funny that the James Krause story went away quickly because it is the next big scandal. I brought this up to get to this point, to get to this topic, because this is a topic that is not supposed to be talked about. And this is a topic that, well, if I had listening glasses, I would tell you to put listening glasses on. The part of the story that went away with James Krause that nobody wants to talk about is the relationship with the offshore world that certain people have in the sports content gambling space. When you carry a list, and the list is number of gamblers that work underneath you, you are compensated for their losses. Okay, you are compensated for their losses. And this happens in way more content-based positions and personalities than anybody ever wants to admit. The inconsistencies that have popped up amongst coaches, refs, people, all the things that go into it, right? There is the James Krause story is the biggest fear that anyone in sports has. Okay. That you would have a list of gamblers that you'd be working with an offshore sports book to bring those gamblers to their door virtually to bet at that place. And that what they lose, you get a cut of their losses. James Krause was a coach, an MMA coach, who was then bringing his subscribers to one certain sports book. Then those guys would lose and he would be compensated for the bets that were being lost by those players. James Krause was telling those players what to bet, but the player did not know that James Krause was being compensated a percentage of what they were losing. That is a gigantic problem. And Butchie, okay, I love you, but you know it's true, okay? That is to me, what is DEFCON 1? What is the, oh my God, the integrity, everything? If we start to see the stories involving more than just James Krause, if it's more than just him, if this becomes something that we find out about more and more and more, athletes, coaches, referees. Look, we've all watched Casino, right? You've watched it. I just watched it on my last flight back to New Hampshire. I watch it every couple of years. It's awesome. It's the best mafia movie of all time. It's the best gambling movie of all time. I love it. You watch it and you see so many interesting things that parallel to today, right? You watch a movie like Ocean's 13, which is set here in Las Vegas, okay? And you see one of the bank character, right? Played by not Joe Pesci, but by why my brain's blanking. Anyways, the main character of the blank says to the character Danny Ocean, bring your whales here. I'll cut you a percentage of what they lose. It's a casual statement. It's a very common thing to be said, but players don't know that. Players don't know that they're doing business with somebody who is benefiting financially when they lose. I can't tell you how many people in the space have this arrangement. Okay? This happens in the space. I'm telling a secret, but I'm telling you, it happens. Okay? It's bad and it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. But I've been approached. Dave and I, when we were at our lowest, okay, when we were really Al Pacino, thank you. Yes, sorry. It's Al Pacino. He was Willie Begg. Thank you. Dave and I were approached. Dave was approached daily, and I mean daily, to carry a list called carrying a sheet. Okay. Dave was approached. He was like, get out of here. He's like, I would never, Dave was never, would he ever do that? I was approached through Dave by people that would say, well, you can do with Matt too. Okay. Matt can do that. Okay. Do you want to carry a list? Do you want to carry it? Bring it, Dave. Bring it in. Okay. We would love you to bring all the people. Dave knew whales. I know nobody. Dave knows everybody. But like Dave knew whales, guys that were betting 10, 20, 30. I sat with guys at what book was that? Arizona Charlie's. It was me, Dave, and a bunch of dudes who all had cell phones all out in front, and they were in-game betting 10 dimes every time. They're picking up phone 10 dimes, 10 dimes, 10 dimes. It was crazy to watch. It's one of the wildest Saturdays of my life to watch these guys literally fire consistently 10 dime bets like it was me betting $10. Bang, 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 bang. That business, they want that offshore. Dave could have taken that business and put that offshore in 2 seconds. But he was like, get out of here. So people would approach Dave and me, and when things were going rough, they would say, hey, we know it's a rough patch for the show. Would you guys be willing to, we'll sponsor it and you guys can be a part of it and you guys can carry a list. You can carry a sheet. We were like, get out of here. We're not doing any of that. It's not what we're doing. So because of that, okay, because that is how there are so many like things in this industry that aren't talked about that are now getting exposed. I don't care about a fighter being crooked. I don't care about a zebra breed being crooked. It happens. Okay. It's 1 or 2 off. It's bad. I'm way more concerned about the institutionalism of it. I'm more concerned about how many people are in pockets. How many people are controlled? Not one fighter. How about 20? Okay. Not one ref. How about 30? Okay. I want to know about that. Those are the problems because we can pick off the individuals and we can clean this up. The federal government, they're getting really, really pissed off. Okay. The federal government is getting very angry about what is going on. Again, let's go back to casino, right? What's the line at the end of the casino, end of the movie, even the beginning of the movie, but you hear it from De Niro when he says, that's the last time street guys like us were ever given anything that valuable, right? That's the line when they're given the Tangiers casino here in Las Vegas, not their actual Tangiers, but you know what I mean. They're given a casino to run, street guys taking the street, putting it right into a sports book on the Las Vegas Strip, right? Well, here's the thing. It feels like that right now because I feel like the street guys were given legalization and they were given legitimacy and the street guys have just, sorry, Will, fucked it up. Okay. The street guys have just messed this whole thing up. And now we're all sitting here and the feds are like, we gave you a shot and you screwed it up. And you are now, it is daily. We're having bigger and bigger and bigger scandals. And if you start to expose some really high level people and we start pulling down some big names, and I'm not talking about Jonte Porter, okay? Jonte Porter. Who cares about Jonte Porter? His brother is more famous than he is. That's probably why he got picked up, okay? I'm talking about like big time guys. Chauncey Billups is a big name, all right? Do I think he was the mastermind of that poker world? No, but Chauncey Billups was involved with giving information to gamblers that nobody else had about his team tanking and whether or not Damian Lillard was going to play in those games, okay? The more of those stories start to come out, the more that we start to see guys doing perp walks, coaches and players that are getting perp walked for their involvement in this stuff, the more damaging this is going to be. Forget a one-off, forget one fighter, forget one fight. It's about the bigger, gigantic picture of all of this, and it's not good. It is not good right now. So I want gambling legal. I want sports betting to be legal. But this is getting dangerous with how often we are having these conversations and how commonplace they are. This is a big story for the UFC. I don't know how big of a story it is for the average sports fan. We're becoming almost immune to it. They were like, oh, okay. Yeah, that guy was dirty. All right. What? We're just going to be okay with this? We're just going to be all right with all of this? So again, I look at the UFC story and I didn't get all hot and bothered about the one fight and the one moment. It's one guy. I was way more interested in the James Krause story because of who he got caught working with. And this is what I'm going to watch for going forward from this UFC story. Who else gets picked up? They're investigating 10 different fighters. Like the report says, the FBI is investigating 10 fighters on the roster. Well, it might as well be 100. It might as well be the entire organization that you're going to look at. And again, if the books take the big bets on the small level fights, they're not guilty, but they are inviting this stuff to happen. Has it been happening for a long time? Yes. Will it continue to happen? Yes. How do we police it? I'm not really sure, to be quite honest. But again, I'm way more interested to see what the black market's influence is on coaches, referees, players. That, I think, is my worry. I have no evidence of, mass widespread impropriety. I just hope that it doesn't happen. I just hope it doesn't. Yes, we don't know. We don't know. You're absolutely right. I would say be careful with your limits. I would say don't take big bets. I would say be looking at a guy off the street coming in trying to bet $50,000 on a prelim fight for UFC fight night. That would concern me. I would be worried about that. But you took the bet. And that's what caused line movements and everything else. So I think the UFC story is it's not a canary in the coal mine, but it is a story in which I am very concerned about how much investigation and what the FBI tends to uncover, because like we saw with the poker scandal, that poker investigation became a sports betting investigation. A UFC fight fixing investigation might just become a bigger story involving other people in Vegas on that. Other people in Vegas. So we're not done with it. We'll obviously watch it and be a part of it, but not a good day for Dana White. Not the type of day you want to be having if you're Dana White. Let's talk about what happened last night. All right. I am always one to admit when I am wrong, and I am wrong about the Dallas Cowboys. That was it. That was the end of the Cowboys season last night. That was, I will not lose any more money betting on the Cowboys. I will not lose any more sleep on the Cowboys. Their year is over, and I was right about the Giants. I was right about the Commanders. I think I will be proven right about the Eagles eventually, but I think I'm wrong about the Eagles not winning the division. Eagles are the best team. They are 6-2, and the Cowboys defense is just embarrassing. There's just no other way around it. It's just absolutely embarrassing. When you need a stop, when you need a tackle, when you need someone to make a play, I mean, Jacoby Brissett destroyed that team last night. And I like Jacoby Brissett. I'm not knocking him. I think he could be a starting quarterback for a bad team. Like, he could start for the Jets. But to lose a game in which you needed that win on Monday night, Dak Prescott was 13-0 straight up as a favorite at home at night in his career before last night. And it wasn't really Dak's fault. Dak played well. The offense played well enough. It was all about the defense. The defense couldn't do anything. They're done. They're absolutely done. And so that was it. I was in all the way until last night. I was going to ride that bet. That's 8-1 bet that I had on the Cowboys to win the East. I was going to bet them last night. I was like, okay, this is at home. All the trend numbers, everything goes right into it. And that's it. That's it for the Cowboys. See you later. You're done. So the Cowboys were never in my top 5, but it is Tuesday. So let's get into my top 5 teams for the season and where I'm at. Reminder that this is, I compare my list to Yahoo's lists. This is their top 4. They have the Eagles at number 1, the Bills at number 2, the Chiefs at number 3, and the Colts at number 4. I don't know how you have the Colts at number 4, but okay. That's where they are, post 9 power rankings. For me, I have dropped the Colts out of the entire thing. You can't turn the ball over 6 times and stay in the top 5. I'm sorry, you can't. You can't look that bad. Now, this list was done before Sauce Gardner was traded to the Colts. Let's see. I mean, the Colts could find themselves right back into the top 3 if they go overseas to Berlin and play really well this weekend against the Falcons, and Sauce Gardner helps out their defense a lot, and they look like a better team and a different team, then the Colts probably will come back into the top 5, but they're not there. Number 5 for me are the Patriots. Call me a homer all you want, but 7-2 is 7-2, and a win against a Falcon team, that's a game the Patriots would have lost in most any other year under Belichick or under Gerard Mayo. The last 2 seasons, the Patriots lose that game. They don't win that game. Now, a missed missed extra point was tremendous and huge for the Patriots to win that game, but they won the game. The Patriots are playing a basic, easy cakewalk of a schedule. Absolutely. But you can't sleep on 7-2. The win over the Bills, I can't put the Bills in the top 5 over the Patriots when the Bills lost head-to-head at home to the Patriots. So you can't sit there and tell me the Bills are the best team in the East when we've already seen these two teams play and the Bills lost and the Bills were at home. You have to put the Patriots over the Bills. I would put the Bills at number 6, but top 5, Patriots are top 5. Eagles are number 4. They're 6-2. They're going to be in the running. I'm not high on this offense. I'm not high on the locker room. I'm not high on much, but they play defense and they have superstar weapons. Like the Patriots roster is nowhere near what the Eagles roster is, and they're 6-2. A.J. Brown is not going anywhere. Okay. He's not going anywhere. The offensive line's been banged up, but they may get healthier as the year progresses. I think the Eagles at 6-2 are going to be really good, and they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough. Number 3, I'm way higher on the Rams than anybody else, I guess. I like the Rams a lot. I'm most likely going to bet against the Rams this weekend on the road against San Francisco. I most likely will take the home dog, 49ers, at plus 3.5. But I like the Rams going into the week. I like the Rams a lot. You look at their offense, you look at their receivers, their quarterback, their head coach, and what their defense has done so far. Huge win over the Saints. I know the Saints stink, but you're supposed to take apart bad teams. If you are a good team and you're facing a bad team, you're supposed to take that team apart. And the Rams did exactly that. Exactly that. Number 2 for me, 5-4 is 5-4. But you can't be watching football. You can't be examining what the Chiefs are looking like and not think the Chiefs, even with the loss to the Bills, that the Chiefs are a team that you have to deal with in the AFC. They're the best team in the AFC. Okay, let's just call a spade a spade. The Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. Will they be at the end of the year? Who knows? But on paper and the way they have played, yes, they have 4 losses. And yes, that's kind of like, oh my gosh, Matt, you have a 5-4 team at number 2. I just think you have to look at the quarterback, the head coach, the defense, and the skill players and say the division is a huge break for Kansas City because the Chargers are probably the only team. The Broncos will see. The Broncos play on Thursday night in a divisional game against the Raiders. We'll see. Broncos were lucky to get a win over the weekend. We'll see. Denver is definitely going to be in the conversation for the top 5 if they win the division later in the year. But right now, I think you have to go with the Chiefs as the number 2 team, power ranking wise. And number 1, this was before they went and traded for a wide receiver today. But I think the Seahawks are the best team in football. I mean, what's weird is that Seattle is better away from home than they are at home under Mike McDonald. It doesn't make any sense. But going on the road in prime time on Sunday night and taking apart a pretty good Commanders team, questionably how good they are, but fine. Commanders at home in that fashion. I really like the defense. Sam Darnold is playing extremely well. And I mean MVP caliber well. I think the Seahawks are the best team in football right now. After week 9 with a 6-2 record, give me Seattle. I mean, a big trade today. I like it a lot. I think Seattle is a team that you can back and you can ride. Do I want to lay 6.5 points against the Cardinals this week? No, I do not. If I was going to bet it, would I take the Cardinals? I would. I would take 6.5 points just because of what Mike McDonald has done at home. And look, when the Bucs went up there, the Bucs won. I mean, and beat Seattle. So I think you obviously have a conversation there. Look, I like Seattle a lot, but the Bills and the Bucs are right on the outside. Okay. The Patriots have a 7-2 record, so they have one more win than the Bucs. The Bucs are playing the Patriots this weekend. The Bucs are going to beat the Patriots this weekend. Okay. Bucs minus 2.5. I like the Bucs. Bet that before it goes to 3. Bucs will beat the Patriots this weekend. The Bucs will be in my top 5 again next week. I love Baker Mayfield. I love this Bucs team. I wish Mike Evans didn't get hurt. Okay. The Bills have Josh Allen, but the Bills have lost to the Patriots. The Bills aren't in first place in the division. I can't put them above the Patriots. I can't give the Bills the edge up when they've lost head-to-head at home to New England. So that's why those two teams are not in the top 5 for me. But, 5 Patriots, 4 Eagles, 3 Rams, 2 the Chiefs, and the 1 being the Seattle Seahawks at 6-2. Be a fun story if it were to be Sam Darnold, if Sam Darnold somehow won a Super Bowl after where he's been tossed around and thrown around and everything else. So before we do just the picks, have we had any other breaking news stories from a trade perspective? Anything else come down? Let me double check just to make sure there's not been anything else that is happening at the moment. I don't think so, right? I don't think we're seeing any other trades have happened as of yet in the NFL. Trade deadline is now 3 hours away in the NFL. So we'll see if we get any other big moves. But Sauce Gardner just tweeted out, New York, it's been real. All right. So he's saying, peace out. Appreciate all of you. See you later. So yeah, I don't see anything else in terms of yet from a NFL trade deadline. But if anything else in the NFL trade deadline, if we do get it 4 p.m. Eastern time for the NFL trade deadline, Sauce Gardner so far the biggest name that has been traded so far here today. Let's make some bets. It is time for Just the Picks. It's being brought to you by the Betting Pros' prop bet cheat sheet. You guys can check it out for the NBA tonight for the prop bet cheat sheet, or you can check it out for NFL football coming up on Thursday. Baseball is gone, but when baseball comes back, you can use prop bet cheat sheet as well. Download the Betting Pros app or go to bettingpros.com/props. You can see all different projections comparing lines with daily NFL, NBA, and other projections on the prop bet cheat sheet. I use it every day to find different prop bets that I like. You can check it out by downloading the Betting Pros app or going to bettingpros.com/props for that. Okay. Let's talk a little hockey tonight, and decent hockey schedule for tonight. Let's start here in Las Vegas between the Detroit Red Wings and the Vegas Golden Knights. I haven't seen the official starting goaltenders, but it was supposed to have been, let's see, do we have these starting goaltenders? I still like it over, even if it's going to be the ones here. 4-1 to the over on the road over the last 5 for the Red Wings, 3-2 to the over at home for the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas, they are going to start. Hill is still out. It looks like it's going to be Schmidt. Okay, so it's going to be Schmidt against, and there's Talbot's going to play. Looks like it's going to be Talbot, which is good. Talbot's 5-1. Schmidt's 5-1. So that's why I think it's better to look at the total. Anytime that there's 6 goals, anytime you have a 6 opportunity, it's a good push potential. We're jumping in on this over for the Red Wings and for the Golden Knights tonight here in Las Vegas. We'll play over 6. We could get a push on it on a 4-2, but I'll go ahead and take that. If you want to bet the gift, you can. Vegas is 8-11 to a goal in the first. 9-11 goal in the first 10 minutes. That's 82% time for Vegas. Over in the first period for Vegas is 8-11. That's 72%. But the problem is for Detroit, they're just 6 for 13 in both a gift and a first period over. That is below 50% for the Red Wings. So I'd be a little cautious with that. I think you can fire on a first period over for the Bruins and the Islanders. These teams played last week. It was a 2-0 lead for the Islanders after 1. The Bruins won the game 5-2 as the game went over. The Bruins, they have had an over in the first period in 10 of their 14 games so far. Those 10 overs is the most in the NHL so far in 2025. That's 71% of the time. The Islanders, 8 of 12 first period over. That's 66.6% of the time. The Bruins have not been they've been a good gift team, 10 of 14 for a goal in the first 10 minutes. The Islanders have not. The Islanders have only had a goal in the first 10 minutes. Where's that number? Islanders, 9 of 12. Pretty good, actually. So you can bet that too. I bet first period over, but Islanders 9 of 12, 75% of the time or 72% of the time. You can bet the gift for the Bruins and the Islanders here tonight if you would like. But so I like the over 6 for Vegas and Detroit for the game. First period over for the Bruins and the Islanders coming up here for tonight. In the NBA, I'm taking the Clippers at home, catching 7.5 points here against OKC. We saw another 20-point performance from SGA, who now tied Oscar Robertson for the most 79 consecutive games, third all time, with at least 20 points scored consecutively in the NBA. Wilt did it twice. His numbers, the record's 129, so he's a ways away from the record, but he's on his way record wise. But it's the game of the night in the association. Number opened up at 6.5. It's been all the way up to 7.5. The Clippers are 1-4 against the Western Conference ATS. They're 1-3 at home, but OKC is 1-2. 1-2 ATS. They beat New Orleans by 31 at home. They beat Washington by 19. They beat Sacramento by 6. They beat Dallas in their last road game, but they didn't cover. So I think there's a shot here for the Clippers to keep this game close. I'll take the points with the Clippers at home against OKC at +7.5. And there's one college basketball game tonight that I'm watching. UNLV is playing UT Martin. You guys remember, we talked to Coach Josh Pastner. There are numerous injuries for UNLV. In fact, they may only have 8 or 9 scholarship players available tonight against UT Martin. But UT Martin's not a very good basketball team. And Vegas is playing Chattanooga next, in 3 days. Chattanooga won the NIT last year. They won their conference regular season. They won 29 games last year. That's a program that's going to be difficult to deal with for UNLV. They got to get going and get off to a fast start. I think they score a lot. They scored 123 points. It was against Lincoln University, whoever the hell that is, that they played, but they scored a ton of points in their last game. So they saw the ball go through the rim a lot. And Josh Pastner has talked about tempo. Okay, let's bet what the coach has said. Up and down. Let's go at tempo. Let's score a lot tonight. Let's just not worry about the 17.5 point spread. Team total over 81.5. KenPom has this at 83. So a point and a half of value there with KenPom. Let's go team total for UNLV tonight over 81.5 here coming up on that. And yeah, team total bets. You love those ish. Those are your favorite. Team total for the UNLV Running Rebels tonight up against UT Martin. I might go to the game. I don't know. I'm toying around with the idea of going to the game coming up here for tonight. One prop bet for you guys tonight. This is from the prop bet cheat sheet. Going back to the early part of the program. We're going with Banchero over 36.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's hit this number 4 consecutive times. The Hawks don't play defense. This should be, look, I'm pretty high on the Magic. I was high going in. They're 3-4. I'm a little surprised at 3-4. You know, obviously Mo Wagner being out has been bad for them. They need to get him back healthy here. He's supposed to come back next week. They need him back. The Magic are 2-2 this year away from home. Hawks are 0-2 on the road at home this year, which is kind of crazy. Hawks coming off of a 4-game road trip in which they lost 2 of 4. They lost to Cleveland in Chicago. They beat Indiana and they beat Brooklyn, which is kind of crazy. The Magic have won back-to-back games on this road trip. They lost their first 2 games against Philly and the Pistons, and then beat Charlotte and beat Washington, scoring 123 and 125 the last 2 games in the victories. I think we see Banchero go off rebounds and assists and then score 25 points or so and wind up going over this number here today for points, rebounds, and assists. 36.5 over for the BBB prop bet of the day. If you guys are with us on the replay on Sports Grid, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. We may be joined by Adam Bjorn. If not Wednesday, we will be on Thursday, depending on his travel schedule. So that's kind of up in the air for tomorrow. If you're with us live, if you're with us on the audio, don't move. Bonus time now. Sorry, needed to drink on that. Okay. What line moved? What line moved a point? The team total for UNLV? What, Anthony, what line moved? Tell me which line we're talking about. In which game for that. So on that. Yeah. Tampa has a lot of injuries. It moved a point for on Banchero. Okay. It's 37.5 now. It went up. Shop around, see if you can find it. It's 37.5. Okay. But points, rebounds, and assists, I'm okay with that still. I mean, that's, I'm all right with that. That's not horrible. Obviously, you want my number, but it's not horrible. 37.5 is not It's not egregious, as it's going up. I want to go back to what I talked about here earlier for news of the industry. Roger Long. Hope both races are ready to rock. Got to keep up with the football team. Let's see. Indiana's going to be fun. I looked at West Virginia last night thinking that D-Rock was there, and I went, oh, shit, he's not there anymore. I forgot. He's the coach of Indiana. So I want to watch that a little bit to see how Indiana basketball is going to go. I cannot believe that Darren DeVries is the head coach of Indiana basketball. That's wild. But, yeah, that's a watch to see. But Indiana will be a team that we'll get involved with 100%. We'll get involved with them for sure. The federal government's going to get involved, guys. They're going to get involved. There was a bill that got put forth in New Jersey on Friday that targets micro betting. That would make it illegal for the micro betting market in New Jersey. Now, I don't know if that's going to pass or not, or that'll be a blueprint for others, but we are seeing more and more that the congressional committee is now directing questions on sports betting to the NCAA. Adam Silver was also issued a similar letter in the fall about the scandals. The federal government wants to know what exactly the sports leagues are doing to prevent corruption. Like these are not the conversations you want to be having. Like if you are in the NCAA, you don't want to be having, because you don't have a GD clue. You don't have a clue. These groups are so far advanced and so far down. Look, human beings are flawed. The failures of being a good person is what opens up all of these opportunities. Whether you're an 18-year-old quarterback or you're a 25-year-old fighter, if you have a vice and somebody knows how to get at that vice and then use it to their advantage, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care where you are with the NCAA. I don't care what type of technology you have. I don't care what algorithm or what AI you have developed to look at suspicious gambling. You're not going to know. You're not going to find out. Not unless somebody talks. Someone's got to squeal. Someone's got to come and tell that's where the federal government comes in. They start subpoenaing people and start talking about what happened. They start wondering, okay, I'm going to pull on this thread and I want to see where this thread leads. That's the problem, because it might go places that we don't want it to go. The feds being involved in sports gambling is not good, but they're going to be more and more involved the more that these scandals become part of dinner table conversations in America. The more likely it is that you will see a federal bill being passed to control sports gambling. And then we're all done. Then we're all in trouble. So this is the problem that I think we've talked about this a lot on this show for a long time, about what the feds could do and what they might be willing to do. But the more that we talk about Kalshi, if Kalshi is allowed to operate, okay, I have talked about this privately. I've not talked about it publicly, but I believe this. Let's say that the CFTC says that we are allowed to bet on Kalshi with sports prediction markets in all 50 states. And then a Supreme Court, whomever, comes back and says, yes, these types of wagers are not sports gambling. They are prediction marketplace. These are contracts being purchased. So these contracts are not betting. And thus you can operate in Utah, in Alabama. Okay. You can operate in these states. You are allowed to gamble. What you are going to see, in my opinion, is going to be a federal bill to put it all together and control it all under a federal jurisdiction, which is the worst idea. That's the worst idea, to do that, because each state would have to unravel everything. Each state would have to try to figure out what to do with their own tax laws, and overnight it would be gone. All of that infrastructure, all those jobs, all of the work done in the lead up in the post-PASPA rollout of sports betting would all be gone. So because of that, this is why I think us here on our side of the aisle, on the sports gambling side of the aisle, we all have to have these conversations about what's going to happen going forward. Okay. We got to see this, because if Kalshi is allowed to operate, if Kalshi goes legal and we get a 50-state solution, if Kalshi can market this, I do think you will see laws, bills be put forth quickly. So that's the other reason why I don't want Kalshi to succeed, is because I think the quickest way to get people in the states that do not want to have sports gambling legalized, or they want to have their own version of it, like in Florida, the quickest way to cause those people to jump on board to ban or have a federal law is by allowing Kalshi to operate in their state. So I think there's a lot more fallout to the CFTC Kalshi situation than people want to realize, but I don't think the current administration really cares about that, because they just want to let Kalshi operate. Kalshi wants to have their too big to fail moment, and then they'll let the federal government figure it out with a bill or whatever they're going to try to pass. So there's just so many different levers that are being pulled here behind the scenes, involving Kalshi, involving CFTC marketplaces, and the conversation about sports gambling legalized in the country, that I think that's one of the bigger questions I would like to see have answered. Because if you are a state senator, or you are the senator from Utah, and you go home and someone says, "Hey, my son's betting on Kalshi. How is that possible?" And you say, "Well, the CFTC is the one that judges that, so we don't have to worry about that." And the person says, "I don't care who is running it. My son's gambling. Get it out. We don't want gambling in Utah." Okay. Well, then what do? The only way to do it is by putting a sports prediction marketplace underneath a sports gambling bill, and then having it being controlled by the federal government. That's it. That's it for that on this. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Good job, guys. Breaking news. So we have another trade involving the New York Jets. Zach, Quentin Williams from the Jets to the Cowboys for a first-round pick. Holy shit. Okay. Jerry, that's the trade. So yes, the Jets are on a fire sale. So Quentin Williams, gone. Let's pull this up here. They must be looking to move everybody. And I think they should. I mean, that's the right move. Breece Hall just tweeted. Look at Breece Hall's Twitter account. Oh my. He just, I don't know how to describe that GIF, but it's basically somebody like eyeballing you from behind a big pole, like kind of like staring at it, like looking around. So Breece Hall thinks like he might be gone. He must be hearing something with his agent that they have to be. Come on, that has to be going on. Okay, so Quentin Williams, trying to see what's the compensation for Quentin Williams on this. Wow. How about that? Okay, so we'll watch it and see how it all plays out. But Quentin Williams is going to be now a member of the Cowboys. How much does that help? Even Jerry Jones said that it wasn't going to be, one player wasn't going to be enough, but we'll see. The Patriots have not done anything, huh? That's too bad. As a Patriot fan, that's kind of annoying that they haven't done anything. The trade deadline. I'm trying to look at the Cowboys. At the Yahoo Sports' draft ticker, but it's not cooperating with me at the moment. Let's see. So there's 2 blockbuster trades that have gone down. I wonder how many we see. Okay. So if you're Sauce Gardner, you're out of Dodge. You know now that Williams, he's out of Dodge. Are we seeing Garrett Wilson? What's the market for Garrett Wilson? Free Bryce Hall. What's the market for Garrett Wilson? What's the market for Breece Hall? I really wonder what the markets are for those guys. But yeah, I don't, if I'm Aaron Glenn, if I know I'm staying, right? Like, let's just say Aaron Glenn, first year head coach, right? So he's sitting down with Woody Johnson and company, and they're like, look, you're our guy. We picked you. I would say I want to start over again. Like, let's just go get as many first round picks as we can get. Like, let's just build this team. Let's just go do it right. Let's go ahead and, bite the bullet and say, okay, we're going to suck for a while, but we're going to rebuild this the right way. We're going to go and rebuild the offensive line. We're going to go and rebuild the defensive line. We're going to go and we're not going to have high priced, high profile, big star players. We're going to do it the right way. And we're going to get controllable guys with good contracts that we can go and then be competitive in a very tough AFC. Like, that's how I mean, if I was the Jets, that's what I would do. But it's very difficult in New York with the ticket prices that you're going to ask your fan base to pay to tell them, hey, by the way, we're going to be awful for 2 or 3 years. We're 1-7 right now. What are we going to be? 2-14, 2-15? Like, what do we wind up? 3-14? So then, okay, we suck, right? And then we're going to be good and we'll make progress. And you have to hope that Aaron Glenn's the right guy. Yeah, good point. It's the Jets that's drafting that. It's a good point. That's a problem. Maybe they are. I don't know. It's one player. Quentin Williams is a good player. Okay. Really good player. Give up first round pick for him. First round pick for him. I don't know what year, though. You guys saying first round. Is it next year? Is it the year after? I don't know if, does Logan Wilson help this defense out dramatically? Williams does. Helps the defense, but I don't know if it dramatically changes this defense. The defense sucks. So bad. Let's see. 3-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle, Quentin Williams, traded to the Cowboys. If nothing less, the Cowboys are good next year. You know what I mean? Like, nothing less, it helps for next year. So we'll watch it. We'll recap it all. What's Jerry doing? He's trying to win right now, Christian. That's what he's doing. Trying to win right now. That's his whole angle. Win right now. Trade for a defense to win right now. Favorite thing about today. Oh, hey, we didn't fire. I didn't fire. Sorry, hold on. For me, this has been fun. NFL trade deadline, being on the air today. This has been fun. Everything about today is watching all these different trades. This is great. So in case you're just tuning in late, the Colts have traded for Sauce Gardner and the Cowboys have traded for Quentin Williams. We are currently about 2.5 hours or so from the trade deadline being done. Who else gets moved? We're watching Breece Hall. We're watching Garrett Wilson, and we're watching anyone else for the Jets that might have any value at the moment, because the Jets are just the rest of the year. I would agree that fade the Jets the rest of the year. All right, can you even bet on the Jets right now? Have the books pulled the Jets off the board? They had to. There's no way, right? They had to have pulled the Jets off the board, given what's going on. You can't be taking bets on the Jets for this weekend. Oh my, no way. So let's see that. But again, it's in the future. But yes, betting against the Jets, team total Jets under, good plays. Those are good plays. Tomorrow we may be joined by Adam Bjorn. We'll see. It's either Wednesday or Thursday for Adam Bjorn. Where in the world will our guy be from BetChris Arizona? I don't know. We'll find out how he's doing. We'll find out how many teams he has alive in Circus Survivor. He had 3 before last week. Did he avoid those pitfalls? Did he avoid using the teams that got upset like the Packers and the Lions? I think he might have. So we'll get to Adam coming up tomorrow on the program. Trade deadline coming up. It wasn't pulled 5 minutes ago. Okay, Cleveland's still a dog. Take the Browns. Take the Browns. Back to recap it all, talk about the trade deadline and more coming up tomorrow on a Wednesday's BVB.